global contexts. This is Ryan Litton, your professor, and I'm going to walk you through the course outline today, just to give you an idea of kind of what we're going to be working on in this course. Okay. The course is an integrative exploration of worldview, world religions, and missiology, so you can kind of think of those as the three main points of the course. Students will analyze basic worldviews, articulate a uniquely Christian worldview, and from this basis study several world religions. Based on this, students will engage in a comparative study of Christian theology and contemporary world religious thought, with a view towards understanding other religions and effectively communicating the gospel. Okay, so that's the idea of the course. It's a world religions course, but specifically trying to connect the Christian worldview with other world religions, so that you can both understand them and interact with them in a meaningful way, whether through evangelism or through chaplaincy or something like that. Our credit hour policy, this is no different than anything that you've seen anywhere else in your courses. So on average, students should expect 20 to 24 hours per week in completing the course. In relation to the university statement of mission, again, no big changes there. MDiv program outcome supported by this class: produce graduate level theological research by utilizing critical research and information literacy skills, and construct teaching plans, curriculum, and public presentations for communicating biblical and theological truth in various settings. You can see how those break down for the student learning outcomes here. The first student learning outcome: clearly articulate a Christian worldview that is biblically and theologically grounded and globally relevant. This will be assessed through discussion posts and reading reports, each of which you will have every week. Number two, demonstrate knowledge of the basics of the beliefs and practices of the religions studied. This will be assessed through quizzes, reading reports, and then a field study. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Number three, research, evaluate, and articulate the challenges and opportunities for evangelism and or church planning throughout the world, develop strategies to reach specific regions, engage in practices of hospitality, articulate one's own position on pluralism. That's a mouthful. There's a lot there. Basically, what we're talking about here is I want you to be able to contextualize what you're learning in a particular area, whether that is your context in the church that you're pastoring, or whether that's somewhere overseas that you have a heart for, or something like that. Right? I want you to be able to take what you're learning in this class and let the rubber meet the road. Okay. This will be assessed in the research paper or white paper and ministry plan. And number four, apply methods of religious and theological studies in the critical analysis of various religious worldviews. This will be assessed through discussion posts and the completion of a term paper, research paper project. Number five, integrate course content into a philosophy of ministry that contributes to the Christian mission in church and society. This will be assessed through the reflection paper. Okay. Course organizations: online MDiv course is organized into 8 weekly sessions on Moodle. Each online session begins on Monday morning and then ends the following Sunday night. Prior week's material will remain accessible. The most important elements of online learning is that you, the student, take significant responsibility for your learning in this course. These are the crucial areas they need to be aware of. Okay. Quizzes. Weekly quizzes will assess the student's understanding of the basic tenets of faith from the religions discussed and read that week. So this will be based on your reading in Tenet, as well as some of your reading in the other books. This will be true, false, multiple choice, and you'll have multiple attempts in order to get it right. So don't stress about this. This is just a way to assess that you've actually completed the reading and understand it. Weekly online discussion and response. This is the same thing that you've seen in every other course that you've taken. So initial post by Wednesday, and then responses to 3 posts by Sunday. You need to make sure that your responses are substantive. So you're going to want to avoid just saying, I agree, or good post, or something like that. This may be a good start, but you should highlight specific insights of your peers and how their contribution has helped the discussion. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have specific interaction with what they are saying, whether it's correction or affirmation or whatever, and then bring something else into it to continue the conversation. I like how you said this, which reminded me of these things that you didn't mention, that kind of thing. Just flesh that out a bit, okay? And then there's going to be a worldview portfolio, which is the three major pieces, okay? You know your ministry context as well as the people to whom the Lord has called you. So let that guide your research decisions in this class. The goal of this portfolio is that you will leave this course with a document that explores a particular worldview and or religion, likely limited to a specific region from a Christian worldview. This could prove useful as training material for a missions trip or an outreach group or to outreach to a group or a region in question. Okay. So first up, you're going to have field research. This is engaged substantially with another faith. This is, pretty open-ended. Okay, so you can demonstrate this through a field visit to a place of worship and interaction with a representative of one of the religions studied, all resulting in a written field study. This is practical research in the real world with real people as opposed to academic research in a library. This work will be reported in your second discussion post for peer review, in addition to being submitted to the professor for their review and feedback. It should take around 6 hours, not including the peer review. The idea here is I just want you to engage with another religion in a meaningful way. So you can go to another religious service, you can watch a documentary, there's all sorts of options here. If you're stuck for ideas, let me know and I will help you think through it or give you some suggestions. If you have a crazy idea and you're not sure if it will work, then send me an email, let me know, and we'll workshop it and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but ultimately, you know what you're called to, and so I want you to be able to guide the decision on how you accomplish this work, because I want it to be something that's going to be useful in your context and not just another assignment. Okay. Library research and evaluate and articulate the challenges and opportunities for evangelism and church planting throughout the world as it pertains to a chosen religion or region of the globe. And this is a preliminary assignment, okay, not a final one. So this isn't a paper, this is amassing data, right? May build on items from the field research, but it doesn't need to. This work will be reported in your fifth discussion post for peer review, in addition to being submitted to the professor for their review and feedback. It should take around 12 hours, not including peer review. I suggest spending 3 hours in weeks 3 and 4, and another 6 in week 5. That's just how I would break it down if I were in your shoes. You definitely don't have to do it that way, but it's up to you. Okay. Now notice in these first two, the field research and the library research, these are both going to be done, you're going to be doing peer review on these. All that means is in your discussion post, I want you to just sort of information vomit on us, right? I want you to, in your field research, I want you to tell us, what did you do? What did you think about it? How did it impact your perspective on that religion, on your religion? And I'll give you more specific guidelines in the actual discussion post itself. Just want to kind of give you some guardrails here to guide your thinking. But I just want you to, we weren't there, so tell us what it was like, right, in the field research, okay? And then a few weeks later, after you've done some more research on that, hopefully the field research has motivated some questions in you, right? It's motivated, well, I went to see a mosque and watched how these Muslims approach their service, and that really made me wonder, what do they think about this, or whatever. Right. So the field research hopefully will guide your library research. And so then again, in your peer review, you're just going to information vomit, right? And I'm going to give you guidelines in that discussion post. But really, again, you're going to build off of this field research and say, here's what I researched in the library, or some journal articles, or a book, or podcast, or whatever that helped me kind of get my hands around what I'm trying to understand about this particular religion. And, this is fascinating for these reasons, that sort of thing, okay? Then as you're building that, you're going to come up with a ministry plan towards the end of the semester, okay? As a synthesis of all your assignments in this course, This will be a reflective discussion of a contextualized approach to ministry. Based on what you've learned from your research, both in the field and in the library, reading and discussion posts, you will present a detailed analysis of and strategy for reaching people from a chosen religion and or region. Initial abbreviated draft we submitted in the 7th discussion post for peer review. Okay, so this is just so other people can get eyes on this, that as you're sort of developing this, other people can look at it and say, hey, I hadn't thought about that, maybe you should try this, and you can sort of inspire each other with your ideas and maybe build off of that together, okay? So there's sort of 2 prongs to this. Based on your field project, participants will personally observe and reflect upon non-Christian worship as a part of their learning, theorize potential connections and friction points between a chosen religion and Christianity. So potential connections are things that, hey, these are the same, or these are similar, or there seems to be a connection that we can make here. And then friction points are the opposite, right? Like, man, these are not the same. So this might present a challenge, right? So this is based on your field project. Then based on your field project and your research paper or library research, looks to me like maybe I forgot to continue the same names for these, so I hope that doesn't become confusing for you guys. I'll try to go in and make some edits to make that a little bit more clear. Research paper is just library research, okay? Contextualize ministry strategies to specific religions and articulate one's own position on pluralism by reflecting on the interrelationship of religions and cultures. This should include a reflective discussion of a contextualized approach to ministry in light of the discoveries of both the fieldwork and the research paper. This should be the culmination of all your assignments in the course. Based on what you've learned, present a detailed analysis of and strategy for reaching people from a chosen religion and or region. It should take you about 18 hours, not including peer review. I suggest spending 6 hours each week for the last 3 weeks. Ultimately, here's what the goal is here, okay? I'm not necessarily looking for you to try to produce like a journal article, though if one of you is more academically inclined and that's the route that you want to take with your ministry, if that's what you want to do here, then I'm open to that for sure. But, you know, for those of you who are pastoring or those of you who want to become a chaplain, I want the calling that you have sensed in your life to really guide what you produce here, because I want this work to actually be beneficial to what you're doing in your church, in your ministry, in your community, etc. Okay, if you're going on a missions trip somewhere, then maybe try to produce some training material for that missions trip, you know, something like that. And so I really want to leave a lot of this stuff open-ended based on what is going to work in your context, because I don't know your context, you do. Now, that said, some people really have a hard time with open-ended assignments. So feel free to reach out and we can bounce ideas off of each other if there are things that you are struggling with that you want to be able to try to figure out, like, what's an idea for this, because, you know, open-ended, you know, some people need more guardrails, and, you know, if you need that, then reach out and we'll figure it out, okay? Textbooks here, we have Timothy Tennett's Theology in the Context of World Christianity, how the global church is influencing the way we think and discuss theology. Notice this is a link. There is a hard copy of this you can get. It's a great book. It's not particularly all that big. You can get the hard copy if you want, but the link here is going to take us to here, I'll let it load. Okay, it's going to take us to the enhanced edition. The enhanced edition is $35, and what this gives you is 12-month access to 10 videos from Timothy Tennant. Okay, now if you wanted to, you can go to Zondervan Master Lectures, and you can get the just Tennant's lectures by themselves. If you would prefer that, if you prefer a hard copy of the textbook, that kind of thing, then you can do that. Okay, I'll show you here in just a second. We're browsing. Oh, we're not browse, search. My bad. Let's do World Christianity. Should pull up Tennant in here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Theology in the Context of World Christianity. Right. So we click on him, and then I actually have a subscription to this, so I can actually just watch these. And so you can subscribe to master lectures, or you can purchase just these lectures. What's going to happen if you purchase the ebook, like I was showing you just a second ago, is you're going to go to a website, and I'll show you what these look like. I've used these personally a little bit. I just went through Latin for my PhD program with these, and here we go, my ebooks. So I've got several here. I'll just show you what Tenets looks like. Okay, so once you buy it, you're going to have access to this website, and you'll have access to this book. And what this helps you with is when you go to the beginning of a chapter, each individual chapter is going to have that video embedded in the book. So this just makes it easier for you. Now again, you don't have to do it this way, but I do need you to get access to Tenets lectures. So however you want to go about getting that access, that's up to you. Okay, so if you want to do that through buying the lectures, you can. I prefer to buy the ebook, but that's up to you. Okay, this one, Handbook of Religion. Handbook of Religion is sort of like a resource, less, not quite as a book, but like more of a thick resource. Short chapters actually, but it's going to cover just a whole lot of stuff. And so this is the kind of thing that I think you're going to want to keep sort of for the rest of your ministry, because you're going to be able to research other religions as they come up. It's just a helpful resource for that. And then Doing the Work of Comparative Theology, Belly Matty. This is another not terribly long book. What this does is this is kind of like a systematic theology, which you should be familiar with at this point in your academic career. And what he does is he takes each doctrine of a systematic theology and he connects that doctrine with what is believed in Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. Which is just a really helpful way of introducing people into world religions that have no experience with world religions, right? It gives you some familiarity there. Now, if you really get into that, and it's just really your jam, Dr. Karkanen has a larger Christian theology in the pluralistic world, much, much larger. And I almost assigned this, and then I saw how much reading it was going to end up being, and decided to go with the shorter volume, so you're welcome for that. But if you really enjoy him, the larger volume will give you a whole lot more information there. Okay, and so that is Doing the Work of Comparative Theology. Some of the recommended books here, these are just really helpful books in these topics. These may be helpful to you in your research, in your library research. So Sharma, Seven World Religions, introduced by preeminent scholars. Each chapter is written by a scholar practitioner of the religion in question. And so this is not just some academic approach to the topic. It's actually a scholar who follows that religion. Now, that said, the Christianity chapter there, his approach to Christianity is pretty different than our approach to Christianity. So that may be kind of interesting for you. Ninian Smart's a huge deal in world religions, study of world religions. We'll talk about him in another lecture. Sacred Texts of the World, fantastic book that gives you kind of selections of sort of sacred texts throughout world religions. It's just a really helpful way to be able to engage with those without having to buy individual editions. Smart, in his The World Religions, he's just one of the pillars of study of world religions. This is dated, but it's still going to be hard to match being smart on this stuff. Okay, Timothy Tennant has an excellent book called Christianity at the Religious Roundtable, where he sort of gives hypothetical conversations between Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, and Christians. It's just a fascinating way to see the interaction of these religions. A really easy read. I honestly thought about making it a required textbook, but gosh, there's so many books that I'd like to require, and you only have so much time to read. So I just strongly encourage getting this one, but obviously you don't have to. Stephen Prothero, God Is Not One. This is the best book on world religions that exists at a popular level. Okay, he is not an adherent of a particular religion, but he resists the narrative that all roads lead to the same place. He argues forcefully that each religion identifies a different problem and therefore a different solution. So some of our introductory lectures are based on this. When I teach world religions at like a 100, 200 level at a university, I usually use this as my core text because it's just so easy to understand. If you're going to do something on world religions at your church, Prothero would be a great place to start. It's not from a Christian perspective, but it does help orient the conversation really, really, really well. And then Nabil Qureshi, No God But One, a former Muslim, investigates the evidence for Islam and Christianity. Qureshi was raised a Muslim, and he even hails from the same tribe as Muhammad, and then converts to Christianity. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he's written a few books, and those books, anything you can get from him, also YouTube lectures by him and stuff like that, just really super helpful. If Islam is going to be the kind of thing that you're going to want to research in this class, then his work is perfect for you. Okay, it's going to help orient you to the conversation. Okay. Then we've got our course schedule here. Notice we've got worldview analysis, sort of first couple of weeks we're going to do worldview analysis. We're going to focus on world religions for the next few weeks. And we're going to end the course talking about missiology. Now that said, there's going to be all of these in all of the weeks, but those are going to be kind of our unique points of emphasis moving through the course. Is we're going to start with worldview analysis. We're going to move to world religions, and then on and on and on. Okay, a couple of points here. Again, since I'm trying to make this class as close to choose your own adventure as I can, when you're reading Muck, this is the larger handbook. You're going to read chapters 1 to 4, and then also pick one region from part 3 and read all of the chapters. In part 3, he talks about specific regions in the globe, and then talks about the religions that are in that region. Okay, so I want you to pick a region and then read all of the chapters in that region. Okay, same thing down here when we get to week 5 with Muck. You're going to choose 4 new religious movements and read their chapters. Okay, so those 4 new religious movements that are under a section, they're all going to be labeled new religious movements. And then it'll talk about those specific movements. You're going to read their chapters. And then going to go back to part 3 again and pick 2 more regions from part 3 and read all of their chapters. Okay, so that is going to be all of that stuff. And then your assignments here throughout this week, you're going to need to do discussion post 1. Your questions are up for that. And I'm working on getting all of your lectures up. Then next week, your discussion post number 2 is going to be field research peer review. So between now and next week, you need to accomplish some kind of meaningful interaction with another religion, and then post something in discussion post 2 for that. Discussion post number 3, this is going to be summarizing and reporting your reading from part 3. So up here you've got part 3. Down here, since not everybody's going to be reading the same thing, I want you to be able to share your part 3 there. And then you're also going to need to turn in your field research and discussion post number 4, and then discussion post number 5. And we'll actually notice real quick, your peer review comes a week before you turn your field research into me. So you share this with the group so that you can all kind of give each other feedback. Then the following week, you're going to turn in your draft to me and get feedback from me. So just so you notice that. Then discussion post, library research, peer review, same thing there. A week later, you're going to do that. Then you're going to have a discussion post that goes through your new religious movements. Because again, not everybody's going to choose the same new religious movements. Then your ministry plan, peer review, and then your ministry plan. And then this discussion post is going to go through the other reading in part 3. Okay, so hopefully all of that makes sense. If it doesn't, then send me an email. You can always schedule an appointment with me. If you go to the top of the course outline, you can click here and go to my Calendly to schedule time, and we'll work through it. Okay, this is the first time teaching this course, so I'm assuming that there are going to be things that we're going to need to adjust, just because building the plane while we're flying it, right? So we'll make adjustments as needed. If something's not making sense, if something seems like it's too much, then let me know, and we'll bounce ideas back and forth, and we'll figure it out. Because I'm going to have to make some adjustments to this course after we teach it this first time anyway. So let me know what those adjustments need to be, so we can make sure that we can make this the best class that it can be for the next people to come through it. So. Alrighty, hope that all makes sense. Like I said, email me or schedule a meeting with me if it doesn't, and I'll see you